surviving judgmental people and their insecurities. Back again with the Hour of Power, D.E. Wilder, and this is the praise portion. And we are going to have a fabulous time here. This is going to be great. I hope this is for anyone who needs to hear it. Welcome back to part 2, the praise portion of today's sessions. Today we're talking about surviving judgmental people and their insecurity, how to stay centered when someone else's is full of doubt, envy, and harsh opinions. And they try to pull you off your own path. And we are, as I mentioned, we are on a path of positivity. So no one's going to knock us off our stride. But they surely will try. They surely will try. So here we go. If you ever dimmed your light to make someone else comfortable, or replay a conversation in the wee hours of the morning, wondering, was I wrong? Did I say too much? Was I too much? Or was I not enough? This portion of tonight's session is for you. When we name what judgment truly is, understand the insecurity underneath it and practice practical, compassionate responses. You will leave with languages and tools you can use each and every day. A simple boundary plan and a short guided exercise will steady your nervous system. So take a deep breath with me as we do our breathing moments. Inhale, peace. Exhale, release. Let us begin. So we ask ourselves, what is judgment in its true form? Judgmental people wear many masks. We all know them. The mask it comes off like this. I'm just being honest. I'm just trying to help. Well, everybody knows. We've heard that before. The goal seems like speaking truth, but the impact often lands as shame. So here's the reframe. Judgment is simply a projection with a power grab. Think about that. Judgment is simply a projection with a power grab. Because the projection means that they place their discomfort on you. The power grab is the attempt to make their preference everyone else's standard. We're going to get into this today. Because judgment thrives in comparison shadow. Let's think about it. You hear things like, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't do it like that. And that quickly becomes, no one should do it like that. Have you heard judgment like that? Notice the difference. Notice the slide from personal preference to universal law. Here are 3 judgment styles that you may be aware of. You may know people like this. We got the moral high grounders. A good parent would never do that. Or the expert auditors. Actually, the right way to do it is. Or the backhanded cheerleaders. Congrats. Congratulations. It must be nice to have that much time. We've heard all those type of judgment from people in many different ways, shapes, and forms. But here's the key. Judgment It's information about them, about their fears, their social training, their need for certainty. It's not a verdict of your worth. Do not let them project their insecurities onto you. So here's a reflection point. Think about one judgment that you experienced in your life that still stings. Whose voice is it? What does their comment reveal about their values or fears? And understanding the fact that it does not truly belong to you. The psychology beneath it all is very simple. It's bathed in insecurity and a desire to control. Beneath judgment always lives insecurity. Insecurity, the fear of irrelevance, of making the wrong choices, or being seen as less. Control of self, of others, of outcome. It feels like safety to a lot of individuals. When your growth highlights, and this is where we're living, everybody. We're living in our better self, in our higher self, in our growth moment. But when your growth highlights someone else's stuck place, it can trigger reactions. And it can trigger three main reactions. Critique that will shrink you. Comparison that will rank you. Or correction designed to control you. Critique, compare, correction. This is the things that people try to project on others all the time through judgment. But here's the liberator. You don't need to argue with a projection. You just need to be aware of it and notice it. Name it internally and choose a skillful response. Let's pause for a second. Because everything that I'm going to say from this moment forward is going to be about developing tools to respond, to deflect, and to remove those negativities of judgmental people. We don't want to react to that, because when you react to it, now you're actually engaging into it. And most judgment people, that's what they want. They want the interaction, they want the engagement, and they want to draw you in. We're not going to give them that. We're not doing that. So I got a lot of helpful tools in ways of responding to those judgments. So we will use a simple mantra throughout this session. That mantra is, I can be kind and I can be clear. I can be kind and I can be clear in equal parts at the same time. Why? Kindness keeps your heart open, but clarity keeps your life aligned. And we are living in alignment. Okay? Let me tell you a story. You know, I like to tell stories. But this is a situational story that I'm sure any and everyone can identify with. So let me paint the scene. Because Thanksgiving is coming up. I'm sure people are going to experience this. Check this out. It's a family dinner, and you share good news. You are changing your career. You are starting a business. Perhaps you're going back to school. A relative leans back and says something like this. In this economy, that's irresponsible. The table goes quiet, silence. Old Rose returns. You know, when you're talking to, you know, family member, especially an older one, elder, no matter what age you are, it seems like when they talk to you, you return back to that child that you once was. So now you return to the role of being that child. They judge, and you feel the need to clarify or justify. But let's pause that tape. If this was a recording, let's pause that tape. If we could slow this moment down and reframe it, we could see the tracks playing, because there's two tracks playing simultaneously. Track A is the old pattern. You rush to explain and clarify yourself. You produce data and show them this is what and why. You seek approval. And even after you do that, you leave feeling small. You leave feeling like your younger self when you were a child. But track B is your new way of doing things. The full-grown you. You noted the projection, because in fact, that judgment is simply projection. Because you truly understand their fears about money and risk. But you center yourself and ground your breath. You respond with kind clarity. Always be kind. Don't let them pull you off your path. I hear you are worried about my finance. I have already planned for that. I'm excited about this new path, and my decision stands. I'm moving forward. And you can end the conversation right there. No debate, no permission requested, no need to justify, just a steady boundary wrapped in expected respect. You have to be clear. I could be kind, and I could be clear at the same time. So practice these lines. I value your perspective. In reality, we're saying these things to people who matter to us and people who ultimately we care about. Because obviously, if it's judgmental people who we don't care about, or if we don't know, then this is null and void. It doesn't even matter. But there are people who we care about, who we love, that could be so judgmental. And it's time for us to set our boundaries and be clear about our life and our intentions. And be kind. So we say things like, I value your perspective, but I am comfortable with my decision. And you repeat this and speak in that way until it feels right and it feels true coming from your mouth. You got to be able to speak up for yourself and be clear. And it has to become a natural, instinctive expression. Doesn't need to be rehearsed. Very clear. I'm okay. I'm fine with my decision. But I thank you for your opinion. I thank you for your input. So here are core tools for surviving the judgment and the judgmental people. Tool number 1. Don't absorb it. What do we mean? Judgment is usually about someone else's insecurities. And that means it's not about truth. It's not about right. It's not about wrong. Your internal response to it is to be clear and understand, aware, this is not about me. This is about them, not me. Number 2, keep it short. As I mentioned, you don't need permission. You don't need an explanation. You don't need to explain anything about your life. You're full grown. So keep it short. Long explanations sound like you are defending yourself when there is no need to defend yourself. Use clear sentences, and oftentimes one clear sentence. Let me give you an example. Remember, people, take notes. I'm comfortable with my choice. Very simply, I see things differently. I'm doing what works for me. Simple as that. It's no further conversation needed. You got to set clear and distinct boundaries. You only need one. Your boundary baseline. There is no need for a speech. There is no need for a full conversation. There is no need for a debate. And this is not being rude. This is just being clear. I'm not discussing this topic anymore. I'm done with this topic. Again, thank you for your input. I appreciate it. Nothing else to say. We don't have to feed into things. We don't have to feed into the drama. When someone wants a reaction, the best thing to do is not to react. Give them nothing. Now, some people may think this is where we get into being petty. I don't think it's being petty. I just think it's being clear. But you gotta be able to have like a force field around you and allow things to bounce off of you and do not internalize and accept them in. So you have to be able to set those boundaries and stop things when it starts. When people start projecting, when people start judging you, when people start to be overbearing with their opinions and their judgment of you, you do not have to accept it. So you can stop it. Stop it in its tracks by very simply, okay, thank you for that. Note it. I appreciate that. Then change the subject. Change the subject and walk away. That's it. End the conversation. That's not being rude. That's just setting your boundaries. Because soon as you allow yourself to go further, now you are accepting their projection. So therefore, you have to stay anchored in your values. Judgment tries to drag you into their standards when you need to return to your own. So you have to be able to ask yourself, what matters to me at this very moment? And it should be your basis, your principles, the things that matters to you most in life. What are those things? Peace, growth, stability, authenticity, being yourself. Those are the things that matters to you, and those are the things that you hold on to, not the projection of other individuals. So let's what I like to call, let's super simple. Let's give a super simple summarization. Say that 10 times. Super simple summarization of what I just said is, it's not about you. Don't let them project. It's not about you. Be brief in your response. Set clear boundaries. Don't react. You don't need to. Choose your values over their approval. Very simple. Moving on. Simple communication framework that you can use each and every day when that judgment starts. Because it's going to start. It's going to be there. Whether it's in your home, whether it's in your friendships, whether it's in your workplace, whether it is in around people who you don't even know. And more importantly now, we are plagued with it, if you allow yourself to be, via digital, via social media. How many times you're on social media, you might post something that you just love, and then it's full of people with their opinions of what it should be, and how it should be, and what color it should be, and how you should have said, and what you should have said, and what you should have done. Full of judgment. And if you read them all, and you internalize them all, now you just allow someone to project their thoughts, their idea of what you should be onto you, and that's what we're not going to do. So, to acknowledge that there is a judgment and move on, that's exactly what we're going to do. Use this when people are judging. You don't need to debate, explain, argue, clarify, nor justify. Just say lines like this calmly. I hear you. I'm choosing what is right for me. If someone had an opinion about anything you did, anything you're doing, and you say to them, I hear you, but I'm still choosing what's right for me, that ends all conversation. Right there. It is nothing else they can say after that. Once you say, I'm choosing what's right for me. Why does that work? Because you can respect them, their opinions, their thoughts, their input, without giving them the power. They don't have the right to have the power. So you want to have your one-line boundaries. Things that you can say that right there, what I like to say, ends the conversation. You don't need to explain, to justify. You don't need to apologize. You can say things simply. I'm not discussing that in the conversation. That topic is off limit to me in the conversation. Why does that work? Short sentences close the door without having a long drawn out drama. You don't have to say something like, that topic is off limit, and now I'm going to explain to you why it's off. No. I'm just going to simply say that topic is off limit, and then we're moving on. A good way is just to redirect. What we call redirection is a tried and true tactic. Change the conversation. Perfect when you want to shut down the negativity and shift the conversation. Redirection works every time. Let's say some things like this. Let's change the topic. That's just telling them I don't want to talk about it anymore. Moving on. How have your day been? That's a nice and a polite tactic to let them know, okay, that conversation is over. Why does that work? Because you don't have to argue. You simply guide the conversation away from what you don't want to talk about anymore. You set your boundaries. That's the end of that discussion, and we're moving on. Why? Because we want to stop the conversation. We want to be clear, or we want to stop it. So it's clarity or stop. If someone gives their harsh criticism, for an example, and they're giving you an opinion about something, in a case where you didn't even ask them for it, you could say something like, if you have something helpful to say or specific to offer, I'm open to that. But if not, let's leave it there. Why does that work? You turn their judgment into a very simple choice. Either you offering helpful feedback, or I prefer your silence. Keep it to yourself. You gotta set those boundaries. Let people know where you stand. You can have a neutral response for those individuals, or what we call a chronic offenders. Those people who gotta tell you their opinion and got to critique something about what you're doing. Sometimes you give nothing. To give them nothing, because what they're actually looking for is a reaction. That's why they're saying it. I grew up with people like that, so I know that well. So you could simply just cut it short, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, I understand. Or noted. Thank you for that. Or very simple. I don't share that view. That's just not my view. That's just not how I see it. Why does that work? No reaction equals no fuel. You're not feeding fuel to anything. You're stopping it right there. So here's another super simple summarization. Acknowledge what someone is saying and move on. I hear you. I'm still choosing my way. I'm still choosing what's right for me. One line boundary. I'm not discussing that anymore. I'm done with that. Redirection. Let's change the topic. Clarity or stop. That's the two choices. Be specific or leave it alone. And neutral. Okay, thank you for that. Noted. Thank you for your input. What we're talking about here today is surviving judgmental people and their insecurities. I don't care who you are. At some point in life, you are going to be affected by individuals like that. And these are just helpful tools in dealing with those type of individuals. So here, so far, I gave you a lot of social examples in general But here is some nice examples for those who deal with those social critics in the workplace. We call them workplace critics and also social snipers. Two quick vignettes. A workplace critic is a colleague who has something to say about everything you do. They could say something to the effect of, your presentation felt a little unprepared or amateur. Now, the old you would have reacted to that and responded and snapped back and had a quick response to that, or felt that you had to defend yourself. But the new you is now armed with these tactics and tools. So we're going to name and narrow. We can keep it narrow, short and sweet. Then you're going to name it and identify. Harsh wordings. If you have specific feedback on my work or my slide, you can clarify it and speak to the accuracy or the inaccuracy of it. I'm open to that. Otherwise, you can keep it to yourself and let's keep it professional. I like using that. That's always a nice tool, especially when someone is trying to project something on you. Always throw that in there. Let's keep things professional. Because by you saying that, is you're putting in the air the other person is not being professional. And you're also putting in the air that you are trying to remain and maintain professionalism. Let's keep it professional. I always like that because that makes a non-person think. Am I not being professional? Well, perhaps you're not. Specific or silence. Either you are clear on what your critique is, or you don't need to say anything. Those are the two options they have. The other type of people are social snipers. Those are the people who are online, who are constantly making comments and critiquing and saying things. People you may know, and most of them you don't know, who think they know who you are and they know what's best for you. You don't have to host everyone's thought, idea, and opinion. And most of the time, I don't even read that stuff. Back in the day, when I first embraced social media, I did. Now I don't even waste my time with that. You don't have to host everybody in your living room. And your living room is your comment section. So, okay. Here is a few others before we're going to end this. Is some guided exercise that shields you from all of those things, but it shields you with compassion. Find a comfortable seat. If you're walking slow your pace. And here's step one. Get settled. Get settled. Don't let people rattle you. Inhale with a count of 4. Exhale with a count of 6. Do this 3 times a day and feel your shoulders dropping. This is a way to get relaxed, okay? Name the sting. Name the sting. Can you recall a judgment and name the feeling and the anger and the tightness and the feeling that someone has made and projected on you? Can you name that? Think about those things. Because that is what I call the collateral damage of judgmental people. If you internalize what they say, their action and their behavior, especially if it comes from people who are important to you, it stays with you. It stays with you. As much as you say, I'm not thinking about that, it stays with you. And you don't want that to be the case. That's why you have to be centered and grounded in your own peace, in your own comfort, so it doesn't. So here are some affirmations and a 7-day action plan. Things that you can try for the course of 7 days, okay? You got to set what I call boundary sprint. Let's turn this into a practice over the next several days. First is inventory. List your top 3 judgment triggers. We all can be triggered by judgment, whether it's people, whether it's topic, whether it's place. You need to know those things that can trigger you. 2, draw the line. Day 2, you want to draw the line. Write one 10-second boundary for each type of trigger. So you are now identify what it is, and now you are setting boundaries for those triggers. Okay? Ally. You have to have a close ally. What is an ally? People who you trust. People who you know that are on your side and is acting and thinking and functioning in your best interest. Tell one trusted person your plan and ask them to check up on you. To check up on you to see that you are staying on that plan and you are staying on that path. That is called accountability. I am Action Accountability Coach. I can help you with that. Keep you accountable. So the person could say, wow, I saw you. I like the way you handled that. Good. I know how you would have handled it. I like the way you everyone needs that accountability. Day 4, practice. Use one line in a low stake moment, whether it's an email, a text, or a brief in-person encounter where you can set those boundaries, set them straight. I like that. Set those boundaries, set them straight. Day 5, upgrade your environment. This is very important. You want to mute and unfollow one judgment-heavy person or account. Curate your inputs. Okay? If you notice that someone is always coming with negativity, you need to block them. Block them out of your life, block them out of your social media, block them, because you just don't need that constant negativity. Day 6, repair. If you snap at someone while defending yourself, because that means someone triggered something and it caused a reaction, you need to apologize. Apologize in the right tone. And that is surrendering without losing your boundaries, because that's not what we want to do. Communication, our kindness, you can be kind and you can be clear, is our motto for today. As I mentioned, is our mantra. So don't let no one take you off your path. I raised my voice earlier. Say something to the effect. I raised my voice earlier. I still won't discuss that topic, but I do apologize for my tone. Right there, that's just simple maturity. That's just simply being an adult. Day 7. Now you want to review all of the work that you've done over the course of that week. You want to journal, one lesson, one boundary that you try, and you want to write these things down. Remember, the progress is greater than perfection. Okay? Boundaries are shaky and wobbly in the very beginning, before they stabilize, before they becomes actual practice that you're actually doing every day. So therefore, you have to put it in practice. Repeat this after me. My worth is not on trial. Other people's insecurities are not my homework. I like that. I can be kind and I can be clear at the same time. And that was our mantra for today. So if today's session was helpful to you, share it with someone who you think has been walking on eggshells for way too long. For someone who feels like they can't be in their fullness or they can't be themselves. Practicing your boundaries is very important. And if you are practicing those boundaries, and if you will put those boundaries in practice this coming week, I'm telling you in advance, I'm proud of you. I thank you for allowing me to share this with you, because you are building a life where your peace should be the loudest voice in the room every time. Until next time, protect your intentions, honor your values, and keep going. I know you can do it. I believe in you. Therefore, stay rooted, stay blessed, stay living life with purpose. I am D. Wilder, and this is the Hour of Power of Purpose, where we focus on purpose and praise. Peace and blessings.